Welcome to the 19th season of the Nitwits, a weekly roundtable discussion on the Nittany Lions and the only show of its kind in the state. Our Nitwits panel features Neil Riddell of the Altoona Mirror and Mark Brennan of FightOnState.com. Between them, they've covered Penn State for 70 years. The Nitwits are hosted by WTAJ Sports Director Alex Colley, and each week we welcome a former Nittany Lion as our special guest analyst. The Nitwits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, an independent firm and a firm foundation for your financial future. By Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Courtesy Motor Sales of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By Fiore True Value on 6th Avenue, Altoona, just ask rental, buy what you want, rent what you need. By The Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By Health South, your rehab choice. Health South Altoona, ask for us by name. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, uniform, and mat rentals. By Reed and Salaney Orthodontics, Dr. Reed and Salaney provide orthodontics for children and adults. By W.S. Lee & Sons, your local food distributor specializing in distributing a full line of food service products to restaurants, schools, and institutions throughout central Pennsylvania. By EasyToUse.com, your Yellow Pages connection in print and online. By FightOnState.com, as close as you get to Penn State football without putting on a helmet. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Sunday.
Penn State doesn't allow a touchdown against Michigan State in their regular season home finale on their way to a 45-12 win. Welcome to the Nitwits. We are, as always, Neil Riddell, the Altoona Mirror, FightOnState.com's Mark Brennan. I'm your host, Alex Colley. And joining us this week, former Penn State team captain Mike Irwin. Thanks so much for joining us.
Well, it's good to be here.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure, and it seems like just yesterday we were sitting outside Beaver Stadium doing our season preview, and Joe Nastasi correctly predicted a 10-2 regular season record, though he does not get a football in the Nitwits big standings board. So sorry about that.
That could be a tiebreaker.
It could be. We'll have to see. But we're just wondering, your thoughts getting to the Big Ten championship game here.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, nobody outside of Joe could have predicted this. I mean, listen, the job that this coaching staff has done, the job that these players have done, the job that the fans have done, the job that everybody's done. I mean, it's been unbelievable. You know, all you could do is give all the credit in the world. I mean, this staff, I've said it a couple times, not only have they improved, not only has this team improved from the beginning of the year until now, but they improve after halftime of every single game. That's just a sign of great coaching. Nobody could have expected this. Things broke the right way. They took advantage of their opportunity, stay focused. You know, the one game at a time we were making fun of, but it worked for them, and here they are going to Indy.
You know, as I stand in the end zone watching the festivities afterwards, and, you know, clearly this was a historical night there. There haven't been that many Big Ten championships, and it was something to savor. And to me, you know, you think back at the history. Mike was a part of that history, but you see the great teams that are on the wall up there. And the people now that are carrying the torch didn't even know a lot of the predecessors, you know, over the last. Penn State had such continuity with the Paterno era. And, you know, and yet, you know, up on the podium, James Franklin, Eric Barron, Sandy Barber, I think they've not only carried the torch, they had to light the torch. And really, I think they've done it in a way that a lot of the Penn State community has really begun to embrace.
You know, it's been a journey, and it gives you a good feeling. I mean, in the beginning of the year, no one would have given Penn State a shot. Maybe Joe Nastasi at 10-2. My hat's off to Joe for picking 10-2. I wasn't here. I'm not sure what I'd have picked, but it wouldn't have been 10-2.
You would have picked 11-0.
But, you know, going into the season, you look, I mean, everybody wondered how long it would take Penn State to get back to national prominence. And they're in a league with Ohio State, Michigan, and Michigan State, all preseason probably top 10. And here's lowly Penn State, not even in the top 25. But how quickly they've turned that program around is just amazing to me. I mean, you feel so good for everybody involved with the program, like Neil and Mark said. You know, you feel good for the fans, for the coaches, for the players especially, and the guys that are leaving, those guys that are seniors to go out in this kind of a great ending to a great season. Well, it's not over yet, but we're getting there.
Well,
that's
as Franklin said last night, this is just a beginning, and in a lot of ways it is, because the bar has been raised so high that now you're in the national conversation. Here's a chance to win the Big Ten championship and see where that may take you. But with the number of young players, the foundation that is being put together here, they possibly could be, not to get too far ahead of it, but they could be a preseason top 5 next year, depending on how they finish right now.
Yeah, the one thing I would do is listen, everything that was going on, let's not forget about this senior class. I mean, this was senior day, and what a better way, Mike, you touched on it. And I have to tell you, the moment that Franklin turned that microphone over to Von Walker, this is a guy who came as a walk-on during the worst possible times. Von Walker was a running back, he was a kick returner, he was a linebacker, he was a safety, he was a special teams captain. This guy has done everything, and he personifies what all of these seniors have done, even though he came as a run-on, earned a scholarship.
Pennsylvania kid.
I thought that was such a great move by Franklin to turn that microphone over to that kid who hurt his knee. His career's over, and Von Walker was so eloquent afterward. I don't think they could have had a better person to kind of sum things up for them.
Yeah, very nice touch. And, when you look at Michigan State, where Jack Ham said about a week ago, what are you more shocked by, Michigan State or Penn State? And I stayed local and picked Penn State. But I mean, the drop-off of Michigan State and the way Penn State has ascended now to be, right in the thick, I'm sure that, Ohio State and Michigan have been served notice.
Well, not only that, but if you look at the rest of the Big Ten, listen, I'm pretty sure that Ohio State and Michigan State are going to be fine kind of going forward, because they have a lot of the same things built in that Penn State does in terms of tradition, facilities. You're the rest of the Big Ten. You have to be really, really nervous right now, because now all of a sudden you don't only have those two teams, now you have Penn State. Michigan State's the team that stands to lose more than anybody else. But you look at Rutgers, that's a tough situation now. Maryland, that's a tough situation. So big picture, boy, things look good for Penn State and not so good for some other teams in the conference.
I think they've got back into the recruiting wars because of these, having a great season, have those recruits down there. They were the second youngest team in the country, and now all these guys are going to be moving up next year, but they've already started a good recruiting year. That I know there was a guy that signed, right after for the 2018
committed
class.
Yeah, didn't sign.
A tight end that was like a 4-star or 5-star tight end. So it's great that, I think we're back in the picture, on the big picture, that the kids from Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Maryland may be coming to Penn State.
Well, they never stopped. That's the key. They never stopped. That's why you are where you are right now. Between Bill O'Brien and James Franklin, they kept that recruiting up through the worst of times, and that's why Penn State is where it is right now.
Yeah, I also give a shout out to, Dave Joyner. He was a polarizing figure at Penn State, but, these hires have really, look at the two football coaches that we've seen, since Joe. Bill O'Brien's obviously proving himself and to negotiate those waters, but James Franklin really looks like he is a keeper in terms of what they have found here.
All right, well, with the Nitwits return, we're going to take a closer look at the win over Michigan State. We'll be right back.
The Nitwits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, an independent firm and a firm foundation for your financial future. By Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Courtesy Motor Sales of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By Fiore True Value on 6th Avenue, Altoona, just ask rental, buy what you want, rent what you need.
I'm Kel Sanderson from Penn State Wrestling, and you're watching the Nitwits.
Welcome back to the Nitwits.
Cale Sanderson.
You're wrestling with some tough topics here. Sorry.
Big one coming up next weekend, so we'll wait and see how that one turns out. But back to the gridiron, Trace McSorley took over the game, 4 touchdown passes, and now the Penn State record holder for yardage in a total yardage in a single season. How do you size up number 9's play?
Well, it's the 5th highest single season yardage total, single game But if you look at the stats from the other single games, almost all of them attempted like 45 passes
45
or more.
passes.
The lowest completion was like 22 or 23, and he had 17 and only attempted 23. I mean, this guy starts dancing around, and then it freezes the defense. And Moorhead's been a tremendous hire. He really should be the national coach, assistant coach of the year, which he was nominated for this past week.
He actually had a couple passes dropped early in the game, so 17 for 23 is actually probably better than that. But it was sort of a ho-hum game in the middle or in the beginning of the game, because you're sitting there, you're waiting for the Ohio State Michigan result, and then they hear that and the fans explode, and then Michigan State was kind of controlling the line of scrimmage and doing a very good job moving the ball, and you wonder when Penn State was going to show up. And again, they made their magic at halftime. They made some moves that came back, and we can talk about that later. But
An argument could be made, and I know because I made it, that was the best single game by a Penn State quarterback ever. I mean, really, that was the number 18 pass defense in the nation. He averaged 22 yards per completion, over 16 yards per attempt. I mean, it's unbelievable. You go back and look through the record book, we've never seen anything like it, and it wasn't like they had a great running game to balance it out. I mean, Michigan State forced him to pass, and we could argue whether Kerry Collins or Michael Robinson or Todd Blackledge had a better game. That's all fine. But you talk about what was on the line here, about how good that pass defense had been, really held J.T. Barrett in check and the kid from Michigan in check, and this guy shredded them. He absolutely shredded them. That could well be the best game by a Penn State quarterback ever.
probably a lot of it is his movement in the backfield. He can move around back there. I'm not sure some of the quarterbacks you refer to, well, I think Robinson was a good runner and passer, but he moves so well and he gets away from some of that inside rush and is able to pick guys out going down the field. And, these receivers, I mean, I think they're as good as any receivers in the country. I know Godwin said that afterwards, that, how good the receiver core is. And I think they're even better. They got a lot of guys that haven't really played that much. And maybe as the years go on, we'll see some of these other guys step up a little bit more.
Well, they're big physical receivers. You're seeing the transformation. They have 3-4 guys that are 6'3", 6'4". Blacknall made a nice move, ran after the catch. I got to give the offensive line a lot of credit. We talk about Kerry Collins, who averaged 10 yards per attempt, which is the career record. And, of course, this one game with McSorley. But, that offensive line and McSorley's ability to sense the rush has been excellent.
Well, he also puts the ball where guys could go up and get it. Gesicki, I mean, that guy, you're looking at a guy who now has the most receptions and receiving yardage for a tight end in a season at Penn State, given what he had gone through. Boy, has he emerged. And I got to think that, I mean, is there a better tight end out there? I know everybody talks about Jake Butt, but who has done more than this guy? I mean, he's not only looking like a really good college prospect, but also somebody who I think is going to be able to get it done at that next level. He's like that prototype for those new kind of, mobile tight ends in the NFL.
He has set the record for most receptions of any tight end, as Mark alluded to. And then Godwin actually is the leading receiver with about 47 catches. So those two receivers and some of the other guys they have, it's just been, I mean, you could go on.
It's balanced out too, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, those are your all Big Ten top candidates for honors. And McSorley, it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. But McSorley, Gesicki, Barkley, Godwin, these people are going to get recognized here in the next week or so. Franklin really has to be the coach of the year.
It'll be tough for Godwin because there are guys who have better numbers than he does. And that's the way a lot of times when these votes are taken. But I think that's actually a good thing for Penn State because we're not looking at like the last couple years where they had one guy who was making 70 catches or something. He has, I think, 40-some catches, but they have it spread all across the board, and that makes them almost impossible to defend. I think that's better than having one guy.
You know what the other thing I really like about this team, and you can see it on the sidelines, the fun they're having, the camaraderie they're building between players and assistant coaches and head coaches. They're using so many players as interchangeable parts. Are building so much depth, and you can see the effect that it's having on the whole team.
You got to give James Franklin a lot of credit for putting this thing together. I mean, he's, even with the Letterman coming back, I mean, they talk about number of Letterman coming back, but he's invited the Letterman down to meet the coaches and different things he's done. But I mean, he's been so positive about the program and the people that he's hired, and with the players. I mean, make sure that the players are involved in the community, the academics. I mean, he's the total package. And like Mark said, if he doesn't get the Coach of the Year, I'd be very surprised because he's done an outstanding job.
On the defensive side of the ball, slow start for the offense, hold Michigan State to 4 field goals in the first half, tough red zone stops. How do you think about the D's play?
Well, that was excellent in the red zone. I mean, I don't know that they were really quite ready to play that early, and it was a different atmosphere with everybody waiting for the Ohio State-Michigan game to end and the result there. But boy, the way they, you talk about, again, assistant coaches. Look what Brent Pry has done.
Yep.
I mean, he's taken over for Bob Shoop, which, really people thought, well, Shoop was going to be a huge loss, and how you don't know. I mean, there's Shoop. Got beat by the previous institution yesterday.
Nice.
Seriously.
Hey,
Daily double for James.
The other thing about the defense is, we talked last week against Rutgers where they had 30-some guys make tackles. They had 10 tackles for loss against Michigan State. Nobody had more than 1. What is that telling you? That's telling you that they have all these different players again who are making plays, and that's another reason why they're so good in the second half. They're going deep, they're playing a lot of guys, and that's what I like about them against a team like Wisconsin, a physical team. You have a deep defense. You may give up some points early, but watch and see if they don't play a lot better in the second half next week too.
All right, well, we're going to take another break here, but we're going to see where Penn State needs to improve before Saturday's game with Wisconsin. Nitwits, we'll be right back.
The Nitwits are brought to you by the Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By Health South, your rehab choice. Health South Altoona, ask for us by name. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, uniform, and mat rentals. By Reed and Salaney Orthodontics, Dr. Reed and Salaney provide orthodontics for children and adults.
We now return to the Nitwits. A roundtable discussion of Penn State football.
Welcome back. It was a 45-12 win for the Nittany Lions, but as we've said before, there's always room for improvement. So what didn't we like from the Nittany Lions yesterday?
Well, number one, Barkley was hurt.
Yep.
And, his status would be, as we tape, we don't know. James was somewhat optimistic that he could play, but he was pretty ginger coming off the field. That'd be one concern.
Yeah, I mean, I think defensively they didn't force a punt in the first half, and give them all the credit in the world for being tremendous in the red zone. But Michigan State was that close to maybe going up relatively big, so that's one thing. But again, they make the adjustments. In a game like this, it's really tough to come out with Neil's wet blanket. The running game, Michigan State sold out to stop that. Penn State adjusted, took advantage of it. So there are a couple things there, but overall, I thought there's not a lot not to like about the way they played in that game.
One of my concerns going forward is the offensive line because of the injuries that they had. It's sort of the last place that they have to bandage up and get some new players in there. And the second thing would be Barkley in the backfield. I mean, I think they got to get him out in space a little bit more. I mean, so often he's getting blasted down there. I wouldn't want to be that running back and getting hit like those guys coming in there. I mean, they got to start flaring them out or wheel routes or, some other thing, give him some space because I don't think there's a better runner in the country than Barkley. I mean, but he doesn't have the opportunity a lot of times because they're right there. I mean, fortunately, McSorley's been taking over, some of the pressure, but still, I would like to see him use Barkley a little bit different.
I always err on the side of sportsmanship. I'm not crazy about throwing, with a big lead late. It was obvious they were trying to roll the score up a little bit and send a message back to Michigan State. I know we're in a new era of college football, and D'Antonio really kind of took it like a man. So it kind of worked out. Hopefully it was an isolated situation, but I don't know if it is because in college football you kind of have to pad your score.
See, I'm completely fine with it. When Michigan State ran its center for a touchdown last year, I mean, then all bets are off. I mean, that was classless. You don't do that, and you're going to pay. Now, I didn't think they're going to pay that quickly, but D'Antonio knew it. In terms of the running backs, Mike, we all sit up there and second guess, and I do it as much as anybody. Should they go under center? Should they do this? Should they get this guy more carries? Should they get him in space? at the end of the day, doesn't it almost seem like Moorhead's playing chess and we're all playing checkers? It's almost like he's 4 or 5 steps ahead of everybody, and he's doing things for a reason. And I don't, at the end of the day, it's working out for them, just terrifically. So as much as you may wonder, why are they, running him into the line all these times, how much is it maybe setting something else up, I guess?
I agree that they are, trying to set some other things up.
Yeah.
But I don't know, Barkley's taking the punishment in there, and I just wonder, if he gets out of the backfield or, pitch it wide or do some other things to get him. The guy's an amazing runner.
He is.
Even the touchdown that he has, he leaps over the, the pile to get in there.
And he's got great hands. He makes pretty good catches out of the backfield. He's very short-handed.
One other thing, how about a shout out to their backup running backs?
Yeah.
Those guys are all really good players. Robinson, Sanders, and little Mark Allen. Those guys come in and listen, none of them is quite as good as Barkley, but all of them are very good, and all of them have had terrific production this year. It's been fun to watch.
Yeah, I agree, and I look forward to seeing like Robinson and some of those guys running the ball because he looks like a little powerhouse out there, and he did a good job when he had to yesterday.
Yep.
When Barkley was out of there, they brought him in, and I think and then Sanders is going to be another story, I think, a 5-star guy coming in. So we have a lot of other running backs to replace Barkley, although I still think he's the cream of the crop.
Yeah, Gilligan had a good game yesterday also.
Absolutely. Nice punt down to the 1. Well, the Nitwits bus is putting Michigan State in the rearview mirror, and heading to Indianapolis, we'll make our predictions for the Big Ten championship game when we return.
The Nitwits are brought to you by W.S. Lee & Sons, your local food distributor specializing in distributing a full line of food service products to restaurants, schools, and institutions throughout central Pennsylvania. By EasyToUse.com, your Yellow Pages connection in print and online. By FightOnState.com, as close as you get to Penn State football without putting on a helmet. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Sunday.
It's prediction time here on the Nitwits, and we will start with the chair this week, Mike.
And this is for Joe, Lou, Wally, and Sandy. I'm going to pick Penn State 20-14 over Wisconsin.
Wow, Mike, that's the most concise.
You left Goon out.
Yes, Keith Conlon too, and Brandon Noble. We've had 10 people fill in your chair.
I know you haven't filled it very well.
All right, they told us to hurry. All right, I'm going to say Penn State. This has kind of been a team of destiny. I'm going to say Penn State 24, Wisconsin 21.
Well, I'll go Penn State 24-20, and I had that ahead of time. But I just think again, Penn State's playing really well. A deep Penn State team. I think they play well in the second half, and they're able to pull it out.
I'm going to go Penn State 27, Wisconsin 17. I think a late touchdown helps me out here.
Strategy.
And it's a tight standings, as we can see. The Nitwits, it's anybody's race from here on out, as the chair grabbed another ball this past week. So we'll see how this one shakes out in the coming days. So we, of course, want to thank you for watching, and we'll be right back here next week. We hope you will join us then and see who's right and see what's happening with the Nittany Lions and whether or not they're Big Ten champs. Thanks again.
The Nitwits have been brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, an independent firm and a firm foundation for your financial future. By Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Courtesy Motor Sales of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By Fiore True Value on 6th Avenue, Altoona, just ask rental, buy what you want, rent what you need. By The Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By Health South, your rehab choice. Health South Altoona, ask for us by name. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, uniform, and mat rentals. By Reed and Salaney Orthodontics, Dr. Reed and Salaney provide orthodontics for children and adults. By W.S. Lee & Sons, your local food distributor specializing in distributing a full line of food service products to restaurants, schools, and institutions throughout central Pennsylvania. By easytouse.com, your Yellow Pages connection in print and online. By fightonstake.com, as close as you get to Penn State football without putting on a helmet. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Sunday. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.